It's until you open your mind, open-mindedness creates that. We all shut down our mind. Like, for instance, when I broke the pull-up record, everybody around me heard the pull-up record was 4,020 pull-ups. That's the first thing they did. Oh my God. The first thing I did versus closing my mind was like, oh my God, that's crazy. I don't even got a pen.
So how many times every minute?
Exactly.
Every hour, every second.
It's like taking life and making it out to be this grandiose thing. Start breaking it down. Start breaking it down. And most of us, we live in a box. And we don't want to go outside that box at all. Ever. Outside that box is all these possibilities of life. What we do is we shackle our mind. We are a prisoner in our own mind. This is all I can do. This is all I'm good at. And we take away the possibilities of you can be this, you can be that, you can be all these things. And I never thought at 300 pounds I could be Navy SEAL.
Wow.
So if my mind was shackled, me, you would never be. There'd be no book. There'd be no book. There'd be nothing. So what people understand is that they live for themselves, not knowing that you have the power within yourself to change millions of lives by facing life.
The reason why we go back to old habits is because our goals are too lofty. We're not achieving our goals fast enough. So what happens is, you know what? Oh man, we're very impatient nowadays. For me, it was good. I didn't have a phone. I was out of this world by myself. It was a race against David Goggins. It wasn't a race against God. I look good for this person or that person. It was me. I got to change myself. So for me, if I lost 5 pounds in a week, I got a feeling. I allowed myself to feel proud of that. I didn't look at I got to lose 106 pounds. I'm like, man, I went from 297, now I'm 292. In 1 week, man, I'm killing it. We're not proud of ourselves for the small accomplishments. What we need is we need this monstrosity of the thing to happen and say, I did it. Nah. There's a process that you have to go through, and patience is the process. And if you don't have patience, after a week, I haven't lost 30 pounds and I'm done. I'm over it. So that's what I found out with people, man. They're not patient enough to realize and to enjoy the moment, not live in it. Just enjoy it. There's no finish line in life. But enjoy that moment. Roger that, man. I lost 5. Let me go 10 next week. So that's the whole thing about it. That's how people lose it. And not in a sadistic way, in a life-changing, growing way. I found out so much about myself through going through that training 3 times. And I went through the hardest part of the training 3 times. You know, after the first phase is the crucible, man. And that's where I was at for 3 times. I spent most of my time with buds in first phase.
In the hell week.
In the hell weeks. And being in that grind. And in that grind, I got time to examine myself. I call it the live autopsy. And also examine other people. Because I was really good. So I started learning that if you start to change your mindset versus it being like, oh my God, this sucks. I became a professional bud student. So I wasn't going to leave until I graduated. So I started realizing if this is my home, this is what I am, I had to always reset the bar. I had to reset my new norm. There always had to be a new norm. So one thing we don't do is we don't have a new norm. My new norm is you get every morning at 4 o'clock and you suffer. This is your new norm. That became my new life. Most people want to get out of it. I said, no, this is your new life. This is who you are. Your new norm is you wake up and you suffer. And I started realizing if that's my mentality, this shit ain't hard anymore. Your new norm is you wake up, you get in the cold water, you're going to be here till it's done. Whenever they say you're out, you get out. So my new norm, so I do that now today. My new norm now is if I'm doing a 200-mile run. Your new norm now, man, is you're doing 200 miles.
I don't live on the surface of anything. Surface is what got me where I was at. It got me from 175 pounds to 300 pounds. Tell everybody I'm good. I don't give a damn. I'm good. No, they're hollow words. A lot of us speak in hollow words. I used to speak in hollow words. I don't do it anymore. Everything that comes out of my mouth has substance. It's real. And we all have these feelings in our bodies, in our minds, in our souls. I act on mine. A lot of us who are afraid of something, we allow our minds to choose the path of least resistance, so we go a different route. When I'm afraid of something, it's telling me you must
do this thing.
You must do that.
Yeah.
You have to go that way. And most of us don't understand that mentality. We go left, and we wonder why we haven't fulfilled something in our lives. It's because we continue to take the journey that is mapped out. And how I look at it is I talk in life like a lot of us want to take the 4-lane highway that has road maps and all this other stuff on it, man. It tells you where to go, gas stations. The next 10 miles up, you can see a McDonald's or Cracker Barrel.
Yeah.
It's the easy route.
Okay.
Very few of us want to go to the right side.
A lot of us dream big. You should dream big. Dreaming big is important. You know, some of us want to be doctors, lawyers, dentists. Some of us want to be in special operations. So you have this big dream, you can see it so clearly, like it's right in front of you, you can go out and touch it. But the thing about it is somewhere, if you dream big enough, somewhere down that journey, that dream becomes a nightmare. And what happens in that nightmare, so you have all these questions, like if you want to be in special ops, you may not be a great swimmer. You may just realize that I'm not a great swimmer, I'm not a great runner. You may start to fail tests. And all these questions start to flood your mind. Why am I here? I'm not good enough. Trust me, I know all about the questions. They will flood your mind. If you do not have the answers for them, you will quit. The answers lie in the repetitions. You must not forget the repetitions you put into trying to dominate the craft that you're in today. Always, always embrace the suck, adapt to the suck. When you're afraid of something, you have to master it. That's how you start to overcome it. So what I realized, when I get to that point where I want to quit, everybody, they get to the point where they want to quit. This is what happens. The mind tells you, let's go home. Let's take a warm shower. Let's get some food. This is not right. This is that. If you cannot answer the questions at that moment, because your mind's going to start giving you all these questions. And if you can't answer them, you're going to quit. What I realized when I was going through BUD/S, Ranger School, also 100-mile races, 200-mile races, pull-up records, my mind would come creeping in. Like when I was doing 4,030 pull-ups, at 2,000 pull-ups, and my hands were ripped open, my mind said, look, brother, we've done all these other things. You've proven yourself. You're good. If I didn't have the answer to respond to my mind and say why I'm here, why I'm doing this, you will always lose that fight. You have to have the response to what your mind is going to tell you. And another thing about that is self-talk. A lot of people have like these big 4 on mental toughness. All that's is crap about self-talk, visualization. It's true, but the thing about self-talk and all these things, they ask me, what do you think about when you're on mile 100 of a 205-mile run? What are you thinking about when you realize you've run for 24 hours and you have 24 more hours to run and you have another 105 miles? What goes through your mind? What do you say to yourself? I want to know. A lot of people think self-talk works. It does. But it doesn't work without the suffering before your mind starts saying we need self-talk. So what I tell myself is I go back to the months and years of preparation to get to that day. And I'm telling myself, it's 3:30 in the morning, and I'm looking at my shoes, and I want to go out there and run 30 miles. I have to, in that second, in that moment of this self-talk, my mind said, you gotta find more, you gotta find more. I once again calm down, go back. The holidays are by far the hardest times for people. Anybody going through some shit is by far the hardest. And I had a different message today. Today I came home with a different message in my heart, but then it was stopped right away when I came in my fucking place and my wife sat down, she was crying. And she said, dude, you don't know what just happened.
I just heard a huge fight between one of our neighbors and the person about to jump and literally screaming and crazy. If you're going through crazy shit like this, you need to fucking get a process that builds you within. There's no other way. You're not going to be able to find it anywhere but within. It's all there. In all reality, that's why this message is so important to me, and I share it every day in a million different ways. I know real pain. I know what you're going through. I know it. It's crazy. It feels like it's never going to fucking end. You can't even breathe. You could never fathom even getting up, but you have to. Your strength is multiplied times 1,000,000 when you overtake these massive lows. I've had them. You guys, I did a stretch. I didn't see my family for 10 fucking years. Not my mom's face. Nobody. Nobody. The holidays were especially rough. I went especially hard to overtake it. You gotta fight. There's a beautiful life at the end. When you fucking fully get through this, you have to walk through your hardest days to earn your best ones. You have to. Like I said, that whole time I was incarcerated. During that time, my mom tried to commit suicide, my dad. And then I come home, my wife's crying. She said, dude, I literally heard our neighbor on the edge about to jump off this fucking building. It would have been dead. You guys, you can build yourself back. You can get that feeling again. Don't be ungrateful for one moment of your life, not one moment. Gratitude is action. You can begin to love yourself again. When you start to love yourself, you're going to love your life again. Stay fucking strong. This hit me hard today because I know real pain. I know how to build back. You can build yourself back. Reach out. Put one foot in front of the other and know that you've got to earn these internal feelings with action. You buy yourself time. Every positive action is going to make you feel that much better and push the pain down that much. Buy yourself time, work for it, and over time, this will subside. This shit's going to pass. These messages are never easy for me because it brings me back to how much I fucking really didn't think I was ever getting out of that motherfucker. I never thought I was going to make it back out. And you guys, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. It's so bright. And I go on to want to raise money for families. All these guys died, they all had kids. I want to raise money for the Special Operations Warrior Foundation. It's a foundation where 100% tuition goes to these kids who go to college, full tuition, whatever. So I found this great foundation. I'm going to raise money for it. So I said, you know what? I have to Google something that's evil, something very hard. I knew nothing about ultra marathons. I hadn't even run a marathon. I knew nothing about this world. So I Googled the top 10 hardest races in the world. And what comes up is a Badwater 135. So 135-mile race through Death Valley in the summertime. I thought it was a stage race. I thought it was a race where you run like 20 miles, set up camp, barbecue outside, and then go run some more the next day. So I called the race director of the race and said, hey, Chris, his name was Chris Caustic, I want to do your race. So we had a long conversation. I was much heavier then, and I hadn't put running shoes on over a year.
How heavy are you?
I'm around between 240 to 270.
Whoa.
I'm in there. I'm in that race. My weight has varied a lot through the SEAL teams and out of the SEAL teams, so I was a heavy guy. But the long and short of it all was
I had put running shoes on in over a year. I was a big time power lifter. I lifted weights heavy. That's what I did. I got back home from Iraq. We went straight to free fall school, and then this happened. So I called Chris Carson up on a Wednesday. He said, look, man, the only way you can qualify for my race is to run 100 miles at one time in 24 hours or less. There happened to be a race that Saturday, so 4 days later. And he said, if you qualify by running 100 miles or less in 24 hours, I will consider you my race. I'm going to cut to the chase. I signed up for this race. It's called the San Diego One Day, where you run around a 1 mile track for 24 hours to see how many miles you can get. My goal was 100 miles. So I got to mile 70, and I cleared 70 miles in like 12, 13 hours pretty quickly. But I was done. My feet were broken. I was stress fractures, shin splints, muscles were tearing. I was in bad shape. I was eating Ritz crackers and drinking Diet-Plex. That's all I had. No water, didn't know what the hell I was doing out there. Had on some tube socks. It was just ridiculous. It was a clown show. So I sat down at mile 70, and at this time I was married. And I look at my wife, and I was like, I'm messed up bad. So I literally start to turn white. And when a black guy turns white, you're pretty done. So here I am, I'm all up in this chair. I'm at mile 70, they got 30 miles to go. I'm jacked up. I got to go to the bathroom. The bathroom's like 20 feet from me. It's a porta potty. I can't get out of the chair. So I'm peeing blood down my leg.
Whoa.
Pooping up my back. And I got 30 miles to go. And I can't stand up because my blood pressure's all messed up. I've been in 3 hell weeks, Ranger School, overcome so many obstacles in my life. This last 30 miles of this race is when I realized a human being is not so human anymore. We have the ability to go in such a space if you're willing to suffer, and I mean suffer. Your brain and your body, once connected together, can do anything. And this 30 miles was the life-changing moment. I was out of it. I was in the worst pain of my entire life. I was, to me, on the brink of death. And I was able to chunk this 30 damn miles into small pieces. I was so driven. And I'm not going to say motivated. Motivation's crap. Motivation comes and goes. When you're driven, whatever's in front of you will get destroyed. So I sat in this chair and I was so driven to succeed in this race. And at this time, everyone was really thinking about the guys that died. And I'm not going to lie to you, I wasn't. This became a personal thing. This became me against this race, me against the kids that called me nigger, me against me. It just became something that I took so violently personal. And I broke this thing down into small pieces. I said, okay, I got to get nutrition. I got to be able to stand up before I can get off this curb, get off this chair, and be able to go 30 miles. So I went through all these small steps, and I was able to stand up. And then from standing up, I was literally walking around with my wife at the time, and she goes, you're not going to make the time. She goes, you're walking like 37 miles. I got to mile 81, and the second she said that, I'm not going to make the time, I ran the last 19 miles, non-stop. And I can show you right now, when we get done with this, I'm going to show you right now, this was years ago, and I had to put compression tape on my ankle, and so this was years ago. I had literally the size of $50. I had to get compression tape, and I taped up my ankles, and I taped up my feet. That's how I got through that race.
Was it like a hematoma? I mean,
No, so what happened was, my shins hurt so bad from having stress fractures that the only way I could continue on was I taped it so I wasn't doing the flexion motion that activates your shins. So I taped my ankles and my shins up, and I got that from, because my third hell week, they weren't going to let me go back through training anymore.
right.
So I literally went through all the buds, my last SEAL training with stretch fractures, shin splints. And how I did it was I would take my ankles all the way up to my calf every morning. So for the first hour, the pain was excruciating. But what happened is my feet were going up. And I did that every single day for 6 months.
Whoa.
And that's how I got through my third hell week, because I was so broken from the first two that the commander said, hey, the CEO said this is your last time we're sitting.
That's how you stay fucking hard.
To do that. So with the
Hear that?
and people who may listen to this and say,
That's how you stay hard.
Crazy. No, if you know how
Temporary pain
you realize I was
for pride forever.
That found drive.
Stop being a fucking pussy.
Much better than what he thought he was. That's all it is.
The kids are watching.
The visualization are two keys.
This goes for myself.
I believed for that last time, 19 miles, I was indestructible. Because I took myself in that chair, crapping up my back, peanut butter in my leg, shin splints, stretch fractures. I used all that for motivation versus negativity. I used it for motivation. I said to myself, who on this earth would still be going like that? You are. You gotta be the hardest on the planet. Is it true? I don't give a shit. At that time, it got me to the finish line of that race. I believed it. I believe it today. I believed it enough to where my body said, he's going to stop. And that's, I took all the negative things. I need to go to the hospital, this and that. And I used it all. You know anything about taping stretch fractures? All those things I use for motivation.
What power have you found in the darkness?
First, before I say first, I want to say about this. I was the happiest man on the planet. So people may take this as so many people, you live in a very busy society. So when they hear a throwback guy like that from back in the ancient days of animals, they often think this guy is just weird. I think that I'm some unhappy guy, having lived the life I've lived, and seeing the other side, not being afraid to attack, has made me happy.
Say that again. In fact, let me make sure I understood it. Getting to the point where you're not afraid to face the thing on the other side of the door that wants to attack you has made you happy.
Right.
It's really powerful.
Right. It makes me very happy. So basically, I just don't walk around with that. I'm a smile person. So, Merry Christmas. But basically, what the dark side is we all have a cookie jar, and we all have a jar of.
That's its official name.
It's a jar of, man, which just ain't going right. And in Hell Week, what they do in Hell Week, because this is where I really went to the dark side. What they do in Hell Week is they design Hell Week to find your flaws. And they do a really good job of that. It's 130 hours of continuous training. You make it 2 hours of sleep. And they beat the shit out of you and find everything wrong with your mentality. And then they start Hell Week. And that's the beauty of it. And for me, I'm not some passionate guy.